This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
Today's show focuses on a local designer who is using her talent and experience in working in Hollywood to help raise money for students who want to pursue careers in film. She is Gail Jennings, designer and owner of Film at 11. Gail, welcome to Tar Heel Talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Now, I know that you have had a wonderful experience, 20 plus years working in Hollywood. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But first, tell us a little bit about your company, Film at 11.
Film at 11 is inspired by and started in Hollywood on the lot where I worked in TV production. At the time, shows were mostly shot on film and then brought to the studio where we would, in our department, the videotape department, transfer them to videotape to prepare them to be shown on the network. So one of the things that happened is the editors would take pieces of film, they'd make gag gifts with them, headbands, suspenders, things like that. And when I started working there, I just loved the rich color saturation, and I loved the way the film looked. And so I thought, as an artist, it would be interesting to make something with it. And I came up with the idea of earrings.
Okay.
And that's one of the ways that I started, just as an experiment. But when I wore them to work, people were like, wow, you see what Gail has on her ears? I really like that. Listen, can you make a pair for me? I want some for my niece. My husband's a cameraman, things like that. And they started selling.
Well, let's take a look at some of your pieces and talk a little bit about your designs and the inspiration behind them.
Okay.
Okay.
This pair is made from Academy Leader. It's very common, you know, it's commonly associated with film. It's the countdown numbers at the beginning, and it's used to sync picture and sound. So I have the negative, and at the lab in Hollywood, they will make the color that I desire. So if I wanted redder, blue, yellow, they will do a print for me. And this is a very, one of my best-selling designs.
Neat.
This is another example of the Academy Leader. The numbers go from 8 just down to 2. The number 2, there's only 1 on there. But again, it's another popular color and style that I make. The Film Star, I really like this one. This was one of the earliest designs that I came up with. And it uses leader, just plain leader, to make the base of the design.
Okay.
And this was actually from a Coca-Cola commercial. And people ask me often, how do I acquire the film? One of the ways I do that is by going through brokers. So if I don't have the film made for me specifically, I will purchase it from people who deal in old trailers and commercials and editorial pieces. Now this is from the trailer for How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
Oh,
and it's an example of using the actual trailers from movies to make my designs.
So where did you get the idea of making earrings from actual film?
From working in the department and thinking of ways to reuse a material that was in abundance, especially there on the lot in those days before everything went digital. There was so much film around that it was just my love of the color of it and a desire to come up with something unique and something that would be fun to do.
Now, you have worked with a number of Hollywood A-listers, including Whoopi Goldberg. Tell us a little bit about your work experience in Hollywood.
Yeah, oh gosh, I had a wonderful time. I went to the parties, rap parties, premieres, lots of opportunities to be involved came my way as I was working in television. And one of the fun memories I have is working as a stand-in for Whoopi Goldberg on a show called The Cleaner. And mind you, I was a few years into retirement, sitting at home, and out of the blue, Central Casting called me and said, would you be available to be a stand-in for Whoopi Goldberg? Of course, I couldn't say yes fast enough, but
Absolutely.
And, you know, so they called me to the set, and the first day we did a remote shoot in Malibu. So we were there by the ocean. We could see whales off in the distance and dolphins. And it was a beautiful day, and she was very, very nice to work with.
That has to be an amazing experience. And I know that you work to share the experience that you had in Hollywood with students who are wishing to pursue a career in film.
Yes, yes, and I often encourage them to do so. Sometimes they'll hear me talk about working on the Academy Awards or, you know, walking the red carpet at some event, and they think, oh, wow, you know, that won't happen for me. And I say, listen, they hired me because I submitted a resume. You know, in fairness, there might be a little more to it because I was an older student. I was already in my 30s. I was a single mom, 2 children, and had gone back to college because I was determined to. I'm from a family of educators, so I was, you know, it was like, you're going to school, you know, be a teacher, you know. But TV, I think, was my calling. So, you know, having done that, I started looking for an internship in my senior year and sent out resumes. And I got so many rejection letters that when I got this letter from ABC, I nearly threw it away. I was like, oh, this is just something else, you know, telling me good luck and good wishes. And something said, you better open this one. And when I did, it was an invitation to come in and interview for a position.
Wow.
So what I'm doing now in wanting to give back after all these years, working on all these shows and having wonderful opportunities is through the sales of the earrings, create a scholarship fund that will be given to a student. Last year, there was a young lady that did an internship at the Cannes Film Festival in France, and Film at 11 was able to gift her some money to go. And this year, just even last month, she won the top prize in the Afrofuturist Film Competition. She won first place, and we're really proud of her.
Wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. And again, you're saying that you're using your talents and your experience to help other students who are wishing to pursue a career in
film and television, and that it's attainable.
Absolutely.
And you know, the airwaves belong to the people, right?
Right.
And so we should have our stories there. And to hold back and think, oh, they'll never show this because it's too positive, it's just you holding yourself back. It's not the station holding you back. So, you know, contact them, apply to, you know, internships and jobs when you see them, and who knows?
Absolutely. You know, excellent advice. We're going to take a break. We'll talk more in just a minute.
Okay.
We'll be back with more on Gayle Jennings after these messages. We're talking today with Gayle Jennings, a local designer who is using her talent and her experience working in Hollywood to help raise money for students who want to pursue careers in film. Gayle is a designer and owner of Film at 11. Now, Gayle, you spent more than 20 years working in Hollywood. Tell us a little bit about your journey. You've worked on some of my favorite soap operas, so talk about that.
Hospital. Oh boy, that was a lot of fun. And I also worked on the spinoff. For a while, they had a spinoff called Port Charles, so I worked on that show also. Okay. And by working, General Hospital, because it taped at that time 5 days a week, we had a lot of I handled what they call the below-the-line costs for the show.
Okay.
Wardrobe, makeup, hair, trucking, set, scenic, all the things that go into producing, except for the talent. That's what we call above-the-line costs. Okay. And I was very fortunate to go to the 25th anniversary party for General Hospital when that occurred, and had a wonderful time that evening. There was just champagne flowing and music, and the cast took a great picture. It was just a wonderful evening to be a part of. The gentleman I'm with is one of the production managers. This is a binder that I used when I worked on the Academy Awards, and I worked on the Oscars. I did 3 years. The 4th year, I said, I've had enough, thank you.
So you're working behind the scenes at the Oscars.
Yes, yes. And this picture was taken in our production office. This was the day that Steven Spielberg made a wrong turn and ended up in our room. We all went, Steven Spielberg! You know? We had a lot of fun working on that, but a lot of work goes into it. It's deadline intense. You really have to be focused. You have to pay attention to the details. But when you do, when it all comes together, at the end, it's always a big party and a lot of fun.
Right.
And I learned these skills in college, some of them, and in a unique way, because I had a professor who, as part of her dissertation, designed a course curriculum that took place on a in a television studio. Mm-hmm. So we would meet not on the college campus, but in a conference room at CBS, and that's where we had our classes. So we were able to talk to everyone from the security staff to the people in the VP suite about what it takes to run a network television station. Wow. So in a way, it gave me an advantage when I went to interview for jobs, because I knew what was going on. I had some idea of what was expected. I was an older student. I had experience in corporate America, and so that came to my advantage too. But even if you don't have, I found that, particularly with the technicians, because the equipment changes. Sometimes if you have a basic understanding of electronics, or I'm not sure in North Carolina what the requirements are, but you're trained as the technology changes. So it's like getting in the door, and then from there you can build a career, because more than anything, you know, they want to hang on to good talent. They want to hang on to good employees. Mm-hmm.
And that's important to note. You were not the typical college student. You went in as an older student, as a single mom.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about your experience and how that helped you navigate the avenues of television.
It was difficult at times because, you know, sometimes the car didn't work. I didn't have enough money for gas. You know, even when I won some scholarship money, that was fine. I covered, you know, books. But there were times when I'm like driving down the freeway, you know, eating lunch on my lap. Mm-hmm.
And you were in California doing this.
In California, traffic, yes. But I was determined, and it was so rewarding to reach the milestones that I did as a student. And so, and at that time, there were other, you know, emerging students, women going back into the workplace. Mm-hmm. And it was just a wonderful wave of activity to be a part of.
And you talk a lot about how important it is for us to remember how film can impact our history. Absolutely. And play a part in our history. Talk a little bit about that.
Not only from the earliest efforts of filmmakers, which goes all the way back to the silent era of filmmaking, but to the impact that we have today with the documentaries that we have, of the scripted shows that are now coming out, to the way we have been given the green light to tell our stories, to the impact that something like Black Panther has had in the industry. Mm-hmm. All along, we've been able to just have an impact through archiving our experiences, telling our stories, and being of service to the community. I had a unique opportunity to be of service to the community through working for the studio, because, and this goes back to the days when HIV/AIDS education was not common, because a lot of people thought, oh, this is a gay disease, this doesn't relate to me. But straight Black women and teenage girls were being infected at higher rates than other segments of the population. Mm-hmm. So ABC, they donated a crew, and using talent such as Paula Poundstone, Christophe St. John, and Leah Thompson, I wrote and helped produce PSAs that were shown during what they call the Day of Compassion, where all of the soap operas would have a theme that revolved around HIV/AIDS education. And so these were shown as PSAs on the networks.
Right. And we know that television can be a powerful tool when it comes to educating the public.
Absolutely. I mean, we all knock it. Oh, it's too much TV. Oh, too much is going on. But it's the first thing we turn to when we need news or information. And that's something else that I tell young people. News, sports, and entertainment. You know, a lot of them want to go right to entertainment or they want to be an anchor. But there are also careers behind the scenes, behind the cameras, where you can use your talent and your strengths.
Right.
And if not directly in the studio, maybe in another department, and have a long and fulfilling career there too.
And that's important for students to know that there are options. You don't have to be in front of the camera to have a fruitful career.
It's called show business, and it's heavy on the business side. So if you get at numbers, if you're good with managing people, if you can cater, if you are good with wardrobe, makeup, hair, people who with those skills can go all over the world and work. I've seen people like fighting. Okay, I want her to do my hair, you know, or stars come into town who will say, I only want to work with this person, you know, because they know how to make them look the way that they're accustomed to being on air, which is very important to people too.
Lots of career opportunities. We're going to take a break and we'll talk more in just a minute.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back with more Tar Heel Talk after these messages. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk. I'm Sonia Williams. Today's show focuses on a local designer who is using her talent and experience working in Hollywood to help raise money for students who want to pursue careers in film. And with us again is Gail Jennings, designer and owner of Film at 11. Now, Gail, you spent over 20 years working in Hollywood.
Yes.
Working with people like Whoopi Goldberg. Tell us a little bit more about your experience and how you're using that to encourage future film students.
One of my favorite memories was sitting in the green room at the Academy Awards. It happened in there kind of by accident because my date knew who was the guy who was the president of the Academy at the time, Carl Malden. He says, hey, come on in, you know, have a seat. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not supposed to be in here. But I find myself sitting in there with Denzel Washington and his wife Paulette.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone who was on the show that day would generally come through the green room, you know. And so Quincy Jones was there. It was Lena Horne's last appearance that particular year. And I remember just chatting and talking, and she signed the program for me. It was a wonderful evening. Those were my experiences that were unique to that time. So it might sound like, oh yeah, these are people from long ago. But when you work in this industry, you'll be working with the top people in your field, the best equipment that they have. Because generally, you know, it's competition. Everybody wants to be right there on the cutting edge of what's going on in the business, you know? So I was fortunate to be able to do that and have a nice career. And so I guess it's one of the reasons I encourage young people to go into it, especially when they have the creative talent, they have the ability. The doors are much more open now than they have been in the past. Women are just all over the place with their abilities to greenlight projects and run departments and studios. And so it's just, you know, a wonderful career to pursue.
Right. The industry has certainly evolved. You are now making earrings out of film. Talk a little bit about your work, and you're using a portion of those proceeds to help other students who want
just
to
like I was given help.
Careers.
Just like I was given help, I wouldn't have made it without the scholarship money that was raised by, you know, people in the community, going to fundraisers, Black Journalists Association, the Black Media Coalition. And it wasn't just given to me, I earned it, because there were competitions, and I came out, you know, on top. And I was also, when I finished college, from all those days of struggle, one of the top students. Now this model is wearing a pair of earrings that are hand-painted and beaded, and these are what I call red carpet ready.
And you designed these from film.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The basis of that is film.
Oh, it's amazing.
The ones I'm wearing are also hand painted. This is from Academy Leader, again, with a cowrie shell embellishment that makes up the drop. And this one has seed beads. So this is the shortest, lightest pair. So if you don't want something to weigh you down, this is an ideal pair to purchase, as is the Film Star. And these are available at filmearrings.com, which is my website.
Right.
And also have links on the site to, right now, ways you can find information on internships. So if there's students out there interested, filmearrings.com, you go there, and there's a link to, through the Television Academy, information about internships.
Because we know how important those internships can be to
Yes.
leading into a career.
Full-time employment.
Absolutely.
Yes. Making connections. That's another thing that's very important. A dear friend of mine is one of the leads on How to Get Away with Murder. You know, I worked with back in the day. And another
Okay, who
actor
is that?
there.
who are you
Asia
talking
Naomi
about?
King.
Okay.
Asia Naomi King. Her mother Teresa is a dear friend of mine.
Okay.
Yes. And then the guy who plays the sergeant, I can't think of his name, but his name is Bill Brown. And my grandmother was his babysitter back in the day. So, you know, it's like when you say you're from Hollywood, it's like a day in your life could be running across people who work in the industry all the time, because it's, you know, that's the kind of town it is, you know.
Right.
So it's not like you're just name dropping or whatever. This is what it's like just to go to work.
Right, and these are people you grew up with. So,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, this
right.
is part of your everyday life.
Yes. Indeed.
But I like the fact that you're not only working at your craft, but you're working to help encourage future film students as well, and to give them support,
Yes.
because that's important. I know that you
is.
mentioned, you know, you don't necessarily have to have a full scholarship. Sometimes you might just need some gas money.
That's
But these
right.
are things that will
That's
help
right.
students who are working in the industry.
That's right. I was a volunteer coordinator on the Hayti Film Festival this year. For most of the students who were there from Central, they said, I've never been to a film festival. What's a film festival? I'm here because I want to learn more about it. And so I had a chance to talk to them. And in the end, they were really, really intrigued by the stories that they saw being told. The shorts, the animation, the full length, the archival and classic films that were shown there, because it gets them thinking. Even my grandson has picked up the camera, so he's going around. Now he's at Central and studying communications. They're starting to understand how important it is and how simple it can be to document something to start off.
Right.
And so I'm really encouraged by that.
And people, they can find out more information about you and your work by going
Yes.
to filmearrings.com, or they can call
That's
you
right.
at 919-491-8989.
Yes.
What advice do you have for students who, we have about a minute left in the program,
Okay.
what advice do you have for students who are interested in pursuing a career in Hollywood and in film?
For students, I would say submit your resume. I did. That's how I was hired. People say, how did you get your start? Submit a resume. I kept up with what the need was. I would check the job line from time to time. Of course, you know, because I'm like trying to get an internship. But since then, I noticed too that people come in and are given these opportunities because they happen to be in the right place at the right time. So that's important to check and form an alliance. Go to, you know, community events so that you can make friends and influence people.
Absolutely. Staying connected is absolutely important. And Gail
Yes.
Jennings, we thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and thank you for being our
having
guest today.
me today. Thank you so much.
That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this or other episodes of the show, follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, or send us an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.